Hi again! This will be the second video for BonsaiKunstHamburg. I hope you recognize me. It's Teunis, same t-shirt as last time. Tonight we will do a video about deciduous trees again, and this time about the right pot choice. We have 3 tokenomias. We will fill them up 5 times, so 15 examples how to choose your pot. I hope you get some guidelines for it and I hope you have your inspiration out of it. First tree is a maple tree, and in this case we choose a landscape orientated pot, a horizontal landscape, because the outer rim emphasizes the horizontal lines. It is a strong curve because the lines in the branches and in the trunk and in the neighboring are quite strong as well. Horizontal table, and I choose Cusamono fern to give this landscape its open, airy character. By the way, the bluish color I choose especially for the autumn. You know, normal Pomatum maple has a very beautiful reddish autumn color, and red and blue are the opposite colors in the color wheel, so they emphasize each other. So in autumn this blue color will make the reddish color boost. The second one, a different tree, different atmosphere. It is a Euonymus, very nice trunk, nebari, and a very nice ramification. In this case I choose a very natural color, not to get the attention to the pot, but to the ramification and the trunk. The color suits the color of the trunk, very nice. Sleek. Again, an outer rim to emphasize the horizontal and the hanging branch lines. To give you an example, here is a pot with a different outline, and when you choose a pot like this, you will emphasize the vertical orientations in the tree and not the hanging branches in the horizontal lines, which can be emphasized by a horizontal rim. In this case, in the tokenoma, you see a tempai with 3 birds. Birds are looking for food in the open field in the summertime, so this theme is about the open field and the summertime. The third one, a group of ulms, not in the open field, but at the feet of the mountain, the last deciduous trees before the conifers start. So this pot is about the feet of the mountain. Curved, mountain style, rocky. I put it on a high table so you can look underneath it. And as a tempai I choose for a boat, because often when you get into a mountain landscape, at the feet of the mountain you've got the lakes with the melting water in the summer. So, the second presentation, 3 times a tree at the waterside. So the first 3 were about open landscapes or at the feet of the mountain. Now we got different themes and different types of pots. The first one is a forsythia, a flowering bonsai. So there's an additional theme we have to match in this one. But the main theme of this tree is the surface nebari root system, Neagari, or flushed away soil roots. I choose for a very old table from driftwood that, in my opinion, matches the highlight of the tree at the best. In this case, the glaze of this albright pot is open. There's something fluid in it. For me, that's about water. The root system is about water, because only when the water has its seasonal tides, you get roots exposed like this. So a pot with a small outer rim to emphasize the open landscape. Waterside is open. It's higher because we need this amount of volume to keep the tree in balance. The height of the tree is often the width of the trunk, but in this case it's a little bit less to emphasize the open structure of the roots. The fluid structure of the glaze helps to choose this pot as the right one. And in a total presentation I used a rumex, which is a water plant or a waterside plant, to emphasize the watery scenery. The second one is a maple again, this time a Trident variety. It is slanted, and often deciduous trees have a slanted position right next to the water, because the water, the humidity, but especially the reflection of the sunlight makes the tree want to grow in that direction. So for me this is a waterside tree. A slant and a conifer is something different. I choose a bluish fluid pot. You can see the texture, the glaze has something watery in it, like little lightning stars that you have in the water when the sunlight reflects on the water. A very open table, and next to it a nice fern that grows at the waterside as well. In this case no horizontal rim, but a straight line, because this tree has a very strong and upright trunk, and only the branches are more or less sideways. So I like the strong vertical line in the pot to suit the strong Nebari and Tachiagari of this tree. The third one, a maple again, a Shishikashira variety in this case. Different pot. I like a round pot when we have a strong Sachioeda, because when you use a more horizontal pot, you will close the space underneath the Sachioeda. Besides, this pot has a convex curve in the pot, which makes the presentation and the total lining of it all quite vertical and closed. And in this case, with a small hollowed curve, we make the tree more open and waterside style. You can see the small waves of the water in the texture of the pot. Also here the glaze has something fluid in it. The hanging glaze emphasizes the watery elements in this presentation. The Jitai as well, and a small fisherman to complete the presentation. So, the third one, 3 different tokonomas. The first one is a Tamarix. And for me, a Tamarix is Mediterranean. So, choosing a pot, the Mediterranean theme was my first guideline to help me find the right pot. And the Mediterranean for me has a certain palette of colors. And as you can see, the pot has a color pattern which reminds me of the Mediterranean landscape. It's warm, it's terracotta, it has a little bit of bluish from the Mediterranean Sea, and this for me suits a Mediterranean tree the best. The shape is chosen by the shape of the overall tree, and especially the white of the Nebari. The total composition with a bamboo table, because it's summertime now, so a little bit of a lighter thema that emphasizes the dark part of the pot, and an Ophiopogum niger with some flowers that suits the dark part of the color palette the best, I think. The second one is a pot chosen by a Cedonia, and in this case the color of the trunk was my first theme to catch and to find the right pot to. We tried a lot of colored pots, but in this case the patina and the old look of this beautiful Japanese tokonoma pot was the best to suit this tree. What I like besides the color and the very polite color of the pot to the trunk is the shape of the pot. In this case, the shape is perfect to the lines of the trunk and the branches. Another thing to keep in mind when you choose a pot is that, in my opinion, bonsai is about composition. It is about volume, about space, about these elements together in the right balance. For me, the Tachiagari should be the biggest volume in your composition. So if you have to choose a pot in a certain size and depth and height, please keep your pot and the biggest volume in the pot smaller than your Tachiagari volume. That can be a difficult thing to do, and I'll show you an example. In this case, if you need a 45 cm pot, you could use a pot like this, but there is no break in the surface, so the surface of this pot is quite big, and it is bigger than the Tachiagari. So you can see when you choose a pot with corners, with additional lines that breaks the surface of the pot will give you an entire different look, and it will emphasize the volume of the Tachiagari. A nice kikiseki of a chrysanthemum, because this is a flowering bonsai, but in this tokonoma, I wanted to emphasize the coloration of the bark, and that is something that, well, in a certain dégradé of colors matches perfectly. The third one is a Yoyo Maple, well, very red, bright red in the spring, and then this color and glaze is perfect in spring to give it this utmost and most happy presentation possible. Bright red on bright blue, light blue, dark blue, green, and the crystallization in it. I think this coloration to the bark of the Yoyo is just perfect. The volume of the pot is chosen by the white of the Tachiagari. Normally the white of the Tachiagari or the end of the Nebari is the height of the pot. And this is one of the first guidelines you possibly will learn in bonsai. And in this case, this pot is high enough to give it the right volume for the roots, and it is low enough to still give the trunk and the Nebari its strength. In Deciduous bonsai, there are quite some flowering and fruiting varieties available. These three presentations about flowers and fruits. The first one is a special one because it is a jasmine tree. And a jasmine tree flowers in January, in winter time. So in this case I choose a pot that suits the wintry theme. Not too bright, not too yellowish. The flowers are bright yellow, but a yellow pot will be too much. And in winter time the landscape is not that bright already. So I choose a darker pot with a shape that suits the shape of the trunk very nice. It's a little bit darkish, has some patina on it, and a little bit of a relief in it that makes it look like snow dunes. But it's summertime, so I choose a little tenpai of a playing girl with some kites. Two azaleas, one cascading one, purple flowers, so I choose a blue pot, but not too bright blue, so the rest of the season the pot is not too bright, because the tree is only green, but when the tree is flowering, this pot suits the purple flowers very well. The shape is especially for a cascading one, and also here you see that the surface of the pot is divided in different parts, so the Tachiagari volume is always the biggest one. The other one is a Nayagari style, exposed root style. I choose an outer line that is quite convex, so it gives a very elegant presentation to the tree, and narrow feet, so the elegance of the exposed roots are optimized. And of course I choose a round pot because a round pot has the smallest volume in the surface. That suits the very thin roots of the exposed root style. The third one is a Euonymus. And the Euonymus is a flowering and fruiting tree, but the flowers are non-visible because they are green and very small. But the fruits in summer are still green. You can see they are still green. But in autumn they color red with orange. Extraordinary color combination. The orange fruit and the purple cap of the fruit. I choose a very old tokoname pot, cream, but with a nice grey patina on it. So the color of the pot will never be too bright to the brightness of the flowers and later on to the happy colors of the fruits. In this case I choose a Kazari with a squirrel on the scroll. Squirrels are looking for fruits. Not yet, we are here in Holland at the end of the summer now, but autumn is knocking on the door, and then the squirrels will get very active by picking the fruits of the trees, putting them away, and to match the first autumn colors in the leaves, I choose a Suiseki with an autumn color theme. So, the fifth and the final for tonight, about masculinity and big trunks in deciduous trees. First, a self-grown or a homegrown Carpinus Batolus. As a big trunk, a straight trunk, the curves in the branches are not that strong, so I choose a masculine pot, quite deep, but with curved angles on the corners that suit the curved lines in the trunk a little bit. A low table to keep the tree grounded because it's a masculine tree with a lot of weight, and quite an elegant and searching fern kusamono in this case. I choose an unglazed pot, especially with masculine big deciduous trees. Glazed pots often are too much color, too much shiny surfaces. So I like the idea of an unglazed pot with a very strong and masculine tree that has enough muscles to show in itself. The second one, a special variety, a Trident. I choose a pot that in the color suits the bark very well. I think that's the main feature of this pot. A big broad outer rim to match the strong nebari of the tree, so the pot and the tree has the same volume and surface impact, so that suits very well together. The outer line of the pot is the same as the outer line of the branches, and I think that's one of the additional nice features that I looked for in this pot and in this tree combination. Third one, a Carpinus, in this case a Korean Carpinus. Color was the theme in this chosen pot. It's a golden one by William van Vlaanderen, a Dutch potter, and I think it matches the bark very well. The height of the pot, which is needed to offer the volume for the roots, is very nice divided in three by the two rims that are not too thick, so the pot still has an elegant and thin look that matches the big trunk, but the very divided trunk very well. This is not a one part tachiagari, it is divided in a lot of lines and smaller surfaces, and that's what happens in the pot as well. I like the vertical orientation of the glaze because the tree is quite vertical orientated, but the horizontal rims matches the branch lines very well. To finish, a small one. After all the big trees we've seen, a very small maple tree, but also a masculine tree. big Tachiagari, and I choose a pot with one surface, no lines, no breakups in the surface to match the big trunk. The coloration well speaks for itself, and you can imagine that the blue-brown color gives the reddish brown, yellow, orange autumn color the maximum impact. So I hope you like this video about choosing a pot for your deciduous tree. Hope to see you somewhere else in bonsai.